Good morning, everyone. This is Samadhya from VBind Education Technologies, Mumbai. VBind brings industry experts live into your classrooms, and to help you understand better what exactly we do, I'm going to play a short video.
Rohan and Rita are engineering students. They are studious and smart. They work hard and get good grades. It's a happy story. But here comes the villain. They're confused about their future. They find no connect with the subjects they study and what career they want to pursue. Professor Nandlal is a very senior lecturer. He has sensed this issue with many other students like Rohan and Rita. He is worried too. He sets out on a mission to find a solution. He does some research, tries to find out who can help him bring the real corporate world into the classroom. He wants someone to help students gain knowledge and experience of the practical world. And voila, what does he find? VBind, bringing industry to classroom. VBind has a list of industry experts as masters on their platform. By means of VBinders, these masters interact with students like you. These VBinders are called masterclass. What do we expect from a masterclass? Stories of inspiration and experience, tons of information on new products and the ideas behind it, useful insights on how to step into the industry, chance to interact and pitch ideas to the movers and shakers of the industry. One such masterclass is waiting for you. Come, let's hear the master. And yes, don't forget to like us on Facebook or tweet to us at VBind. We appreciate your feedback by just a WhatsApp on 088 791 63528. We promise to bring the Tatas and Bansals and the Murtis to you soon. Help us get them live on your screens.
So dear students, today's masterclass is on cryptography by Anand Krushna. Anand is a CTO at Czar Securities, and Czar Security is a cybersecurity solution company with deep expertise into web application security. So without a further delay, over to you, Mr. Anand.
All right. So here's an outline of what I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to start by telling you, giving you a rough idea about what cryptography is, what's really used in the industry. I'll explain it with a real life example about how exactly our company leverages cryptography, about some careers and some industry trends. So what's cryptography? Think about this 80s spies, maybe a James Bond or someone, and they had to communicate with each other and they used to do message passing. They have some string encoded so that people don't understand what it is and pass on that message. So they use things like ciphers to make A into X and things like that. So here's a definition from Google. So in plain terms, cryptography is the art of writing or solving codes. So it's the science used to keep information secret and safe. So it's actually a study where it's about building these cryptography algorithms to maintain things like data secrecy, data confidentiality, data integrity, and authentication, and the origin of and to ensure the origin of the data. So, so usually what people do is people get confused between cryptography and encryption. They try and use these words interchangeably. So encryption is actually a part of cryptography. So they're actually two different terms altogether. So yeah. So why do we need cryptography? So like I said, the first is secrecy in transmission. So for example, when you're making a transaction on an e-commerce portal and to the bank, so you enter in your credit card information, so which is sensitive, so there needs to be secrecy. Or you're sending some vital, critical documents to someone. So it's essential that during the transport of this, the information is sensitive, and it's no one will understand what this is in between. So that one. The second thing is secrecy in storage. So when you have files that you store in a machine, it needs to be encrypted. Third, integrity in transmission. So for example, when you do action, it reaches multiple servers, and it needs to. We need to ensure that the information that's going has integrity. So you want to make a transaction of 500 rupees. So when it reaches the bank, it should only be 500 rupees. It should not be a rupee less or a rupee more. So the integrity of the data is very important over here. So again, it comes integrity in storage. So once you have a file on your system, you need to make sure that it's tampered with. So by calculating hashes of the file, you actually ensure the integrity of it. So that's one. So now authentication of identity. So this is all about your passwords and how they're stored. So whenever you create a new account on any website, your password is hashed in a one-way hash with a salt and put in the database. So next time when you come to the website and you want to log in, so what the system does is it takes your password, hashes it, and matches it with the hash in the database. So these hashes are not reversible and can help the website authenticate your identity. So now electronic signatures. So this is like digital signatures where it's important to bind a person or entity to digital data. So let's say you're getting a certificate, or for that matter, maybe your bank statement. So the bank will digitally sign the document saying that it is the creator of that document. So this is where is again used. And electronic cash, interesting and most relevant one, because these days your bank balance is an electronic field stored in a database, because that's what it is. So what if someone gets to change that? So that is something where security is critical, and be it your bank or anyone, there's a lot of investment going on over here. So this is just a brief high level overview of why we need cryptography and where it's used. So now, just to give you an overview, so Cipher is an algorithm to perform encryption and decryption. So as you guys must have studied this, there are two types of it. So one is a symmetric key encryption, where you have, so it's a private key encryption. Both the sender and receiver have a pre-shared key, and using that key, they encrypt or decrypt the cipher text, the information, and the data is transferred. So let's say I want to send one of my friends some encrypted information. So before we'll have a pre-shared key, I will encrypt my data using that key, send the garbled output to encrypted text to him, and using the same key, he will decrypt it. So you must have studied like DES, Data Encryption Standard, and AES, Advanced Encryption Standard, which are used to encrypt data using the private key cryptography. And if you've heard of things like SSH, which you use to connect to servers, so in some of the cryptography over there, a lot of it is private key cryptography, and your session key for that matter. So when you go to a website and there's a session key that's generated for each one of them. So each session key uses symmetric key encryption over there, and even your payment gateway. So we'll talk about that in more detail in the real life example. So I'll just leave it over there. So now on the other hand, we have public key, where we use algorithms like RSA, DSA, elliptic curve cryptography. So what it does is there are two keys which are generating. One is a key and one is a private key. So these two keys linked yet different. So you can encrypt with one key and decrypt one. So these are mainly used in key exchange protocols, where suppose you have some systems where you use symmetric key, you use symmetric you use metric key large yeah. Really sorry for that. So I'll just do a recap and tell you what I was talking about. So I was telling you about key exchange protocols where we have systems where we use symmetric key algorithms, but the scale of the system is so that we have too many nodes in it. So we needed a mechanism where without anyone knowing, we could exchange these keys over the internet. So, so what we do is, so we have a yes. So we have, so we share public keys. So before sending the symmetric key, what I do is I encrypt it using my public key, using the public key provided to me by the other party, and send it across. Now the other person uses the private key which is generated to decrypt this information. So this way there are two separate keys which are used. So even if one of the person is compromised, the integrity of the data is not lost. It cannot be decrypted. So that is one advantage. So things like Bitcoin and your digital signatures are completely based on asymmetric key algorithms. So I'll talk about more about payment gateways and stuff in detail in the coming slides. So now coming to cryptographic hash functions. So these are the hash functions which I was talking about regarding to passwords earlier. So basically these hash functions are a one-way hash, meaning, so once you give, use and have an input string and you hash it, it cannot be reversed. It's practically impossible to invert it, and this gives you a fixed size alphanumeric string. So the importance of something like this is to verify the integrity of the file or message for password verification, for error detection, and it can be used as a file or data identifier. So to give you a more real life perspective of this, so one is the password verification example. So second is the verifying the integrity of a file or a message. For example, when you send someone an information, for example, you download a file from the internet. So you must be seeing a small message downstairs below that saying that here's the SHA-1 hash of this file. So using some hacking techniques, it's possible that you might be downloading a malicious file. So what holds true is that when you take a one-way hash of the file, of any two inputs of any two files, the hash is always going to be the same. So if this hash does not match, you know that the integrity hasn't been protected. All right. So now crypt analysis. So this is a study of crypto systems where this is the study of crypto systems where we find weaknesses and try to crack encryptions of these algorithms which have been implemented. So without necessarily knowing the algorithm. So there are different kinds of attacks, like you could kind of brute force the encryption or use a boomerang method, birthday method, rainbow tables, or even man-in-the-middle attack. So so what's important and what you might not be told in class is that this encryption is based on the assumption that it's computationally infeasible to actually brute force these in polynomial time. So, so given the resources and the time, a lot of these could be reversed, but it's not practically possible, and hence these are secure. But day by day, we're having more and more algorithms which make these schemes a lot more secure and safe to use. So yeah, so what do you actually learn in class? So you learn about DES, you learn about AES, you learn about MD5, RC4, WEP, and all these things. So what's really used and what's not? So as you can see in this table, things like DES, MD5, RC4, WEP, all these are outdated. They're not used anymore. So for the simple matter, for the simple fact, things like a DES was brute force. So I'm sure all of you have heard about the Moore's law, right? So day by day, we're having more computational power, and in less time, we're able to actually try more permutations and combinations and actually be able to brute force these algorithms. So DES has been broken. MD5 has been broken. So there are things like there's something called a rainbow table which lets you reverse a hash. So the very fact that we told you that a hash is something which cannot be reversed, that doesn't hold true. So there are tools online these days where you can just Google MD5 decrypt or MD5 crack, and you just put a MD5 hash and it will tell you the actual string behind it. So a lot of the security issues come because websites or software developers don't know about this. They have no idea about this, and they use incorrect, outdated cryptography mechanisms to build web applications. So for example, if you use MD5 to store passwords, so it would be very easy to crack the passwords and actually compromise the system. So another thing is RC4. So a lot of the payment gateways used to use this, and there was a bit flipping attack which would compromise this. And now take example of your Wi-Fi. So some Wi-Fis use WEP encryption and WPA2 encryption. So WEP, what it does, it uses static encryption keys. So there is one encryption key, and it uses that encryption key to encrypt the traffic between all devices on that wireless network. And given that you're able to sniff the networks, you're actually you can actually guess what the encryption key was and understand all traffic over here. So we have all better alternatives like SHA-256, AES, WP, and even RSA for that matter, which are actually being used in the industry for cryptography. So these are the things which you will be really working on in the industry once you get there. So this is a real life example that I was talking to you. So I'm going to walk you through by each step and tell you how a payment gateway works, of why we need cryptography over there, and if possible, how we're going to hack that. So let's say you're the customer over here, and you go to some merchant. So it's some e-commerce portal where you want. So what you do is you enter your credit card information and what you want. And so what the e-commerce portal does is it takes this information, adds more information like the merchant key, the unique the client key, the identifier of that. It adds the amount of rupees which needs to be collected from you. And what it does then, using the encryption key provided by the payment gateway, it encrypts this message and sends it to the payment gateway. So what the payment gateway does is, because using the encryption key that was pre-shared, it decrypts this information, sees that okay, so and so Anand wants to buy so and so product for so and so rupees, and this is his credit card information. So based on that, it's going to redirect you to the bank website and make the transaction happen. So once the transaction happens, what it does is it again encrypts this information, telling me that the transaction successfully went through, and the amount of money which I paid. So once this information is again sent back to the merchant, and the merchant decrypts this information to see that, okay, how much did Anand really make the transaction? Was it a successful transaction? How much did he pay? And what is the transaction ID for future reference? So now here's where it can be hacked. So before actually sending the information, so a customer, so as a hacker, you could hijack this request that is going to the payment gateway itself. And so let's say I want to buy something for 10,000 rupees, but I hijack this request, and instead of 10,000 rupees, I just say I want to make a transaction of 1 rupee. So what if the transaction actually went through, and the merchant thinks that I have made a successful transaction and ships the phone or gadget to my house? So here the gateway and the website owner are at loss, right? So it's important to encrypt this information so it can't be tampered with. So we use things like, so one is encrypting the information and using things like checksums, which make sure that the data hasn't been tampered with. So so likewise, so even if a failed transaction happens, and so we need to make sure that a person is not able to hijack this request and tell the merchant that the transaction has successfully gone through. So even if you're able to modify it by 1 bit, it can be a loss in millions, and it has happened in the past. So you might be hearing about all these Flipkarts and Amazons being cheated these days. So some of this is due to some of the payment gateways and how people have been able to find loopholes in it and leverage these. So this is one real life example of where cryptography is critical and used on a daily basis, and something which you might have interacted with. So this is another image where just explaining about where encryption and tokenization. So encryption is where we're encrypting the data, and tokenization is the checksum where we're making sure that there is integrity in this information and it hasn't been tampered. So this is just another flow of how PayPal works. So I'll probably not go into this right now. So this is something which you could take a look and study about the architectures, what payment gateways generally use. So that would give you a real insight about why it's critical to stay up to date with cryptography and use it. So now coming to the part where we as a company leverage cryptography. So like I said, we're building an intelligent firewall, which is a web application firewall to stop threats. So we have a module which is running on the client websites, which is actually doing the protection part, and a cloud dashboard, which with all the reporting and alerts and things like that. So it's important. So we have a secure channel where our server is able to talk to each and every client out there. So we have APIs and web services running on both ends where information is passed. So for a thing like security, all these APIs are critical. So they're not supposed to be hacked because they have. So with APIs, you're able to control the other website and change files on it, monitor it, change rule sets, and update the files on the server. So it's important that a malicious hacker is not able to communicate with the client website on your behalf. So what we do is we use the strongest encryptions out there to make sure that this information which is exchanged is secure to the hilt. So that's one place. So apart from that, so like I said, so there's a cloud dashboard where you could log in. So we use things like OAuth and single sign-on schemes where you could log into the system, log in with Gmail, log in with Google, or log in with Facebook. So the whole idea behind a single sign-on is that without actually giving your password, you could log into the system based on OAuth tokens. So all this should not be guessable by someone else. Otherwise, if you're able to bypass these systems, people could gain access to your dashboard. So we also have online transactions as the core of the system, where people could come to the website and just buy something. So we have validations and all kinds of checks to make sure that there is no fraud that is being done during the transactions. So that is a very sensitive and critical system, which is the backbone of the whole system, which is the backbone. And naturally, there are passwords and other sensitive information like credit card information which is stored. So it's important that we are compliant with all the industry standards out there to make sure that these are there. So recently, you must have heard about, there's a service provider called Staminus, and these guys got hacked by a service called denial of service. So these guys did not encrypt this information, the user information in the database. So the moment they got hacked and the databases were leaked, anyone could access any of the client's information. And so we actually had some of our clients over there having this service over there, and the whole databases were compromised. So people could actually make frivolous transactions and get all credit card information and scam them. So this is where it's really used, and this is probably as maybe undergrads, this is the first place where you would actually use cryptography in your careers. So now to actually understand the work of a cryptologist and what would you really do. So as an overview, it's about designing and analyzing a lot of these algorithms and even getting to implement some of these. So another part of this is where you could analyze the existing algorithms for weaknesses, see how you could break them, or on the flip side, or even make them stronger. So this is what a researcher would actually spend time doing, and also would try to solve known mathematical problems on these cryptographic algorithms. So most of these are open source and the algorithms are known. So that's the beauty of it. So these algorithms are known, but the whole encryption and confidentiality and everything is maintained based on the secret keys, the keys that you're using. So these algorithms need to be strong in a manner where even if someone knows the algorithm, the security is still strong. So now, what are the skill sets that one might need for this profession? So you need to be strong with computer science, engineering, and mathematics. So the crux of every cryptography algorithm is mathematics. So you need to understand. So if you want to build algorithms and find flaws in it, so you need to be really strong in mathematics and have good understanding of probability theory, statistics, information theory, and even number theory for that matter. And you need to know how to code so that you could actually implement these and prototype these and build these. So ideally, as an undergraduate student, you need to have experience, have good grades in mathematics and computer science. And if you're actually keen on getting to really work on these algorithms, build new ones, it's ideal to have a master's or a PhD degree with specialization in cryptography. So a lot of these institutes offer this and would actually play a vital role in a career like this. So coming to the opportunities of this, so you have the government and law enforcement actively hiring people with these skill sets. So you have banks who pay you top dollar to work on these exciting things, and you always have research institutions who work in in these areas, and so there are a lot of opportunities over there. So on the other hand, you have a lot of these startups where people like us, we have people who work dedicatedly on such technologies. And then you also have the whole Bitcoin companies where it's completely based on encryption. So these are target companies which you could look to work for. So also you have identity providers and cloud service providers who leverage this and will take such talent. So I'll just so this is kind of the end where I'm going to tell you about some trends of the industry. So the major part in 1991 was the whole establishment of this field, where everyone was talking about standards and seeing that, okay, how do we arrive at a system where we could have cryptography algorithms and stuff where so just to set a timeline and see that how we could evolve cryptography for future. So then around 1990 we actually started with encryption, and we had a lot of these algorithms coming, being introduced, being broken, having cryptography challenges where people would offer bug bounties, saying that if anyone can crack it in some certain time, we would give you $1 million. A lot of these were actually very helpful in making these stronger. So now this carried on till say 2004, where you have cryptography being implemented on a large scale and being used. So now in 2013, so now with the introduction of big data, so now people started realizing that, okay, we have a lot of data, but now it's really important to secure it. So a lot of focus and research went into it. And if you actually see the list of publications which were there in this, you'll see a lot of papers which talk about security in big data. So there are a lot of challenges which come to this, and this is probably something which is not covered in the traditional education system. But this is something which is a real problem, where with the quantum of data and things like encryption, it's important to encrypt all this data very fast, a lot of data very fast. So this is one interesting field which you should read about after you go back. And here's my prediction. So 2016 is going to be the year for IoT security. So we have all kinds of heterogeneous devices being connected to the internet these days, and right from your phone to maybe your fridge to everything in your house being connected to the internet. So you have a lot of critical devices and a lot of information. So if let's say you're using some medical devices and these are connected to the internet, so a lot of this a lot of this has not been using proper encryption cryptography because there hasn't been a focus on it. But in this year, if you will be seeing a lot of publication and a lot of research going into this field, and a lot of companies are looking out for such things. So be it the world or a Microsoft research, if you see the openings over there, you'll find people that they're looking for people who have deep expertise in the security. So what I'm going to do right now is have my colleague Shikhil, who's going to talk about some startups and entrepreneurship possibilities in this area of cryptography and cybersecurity. So yeah. You speaking with us? No, laptop.
Hi everyone. Classic Murphy's Law, anything which could have went wrong on our side. So we decided that we would compensate for that, and we had a meeting after that, but we cancelled that. So any questions you have today, we're going to answer that, be it till evening. So I'll be talking about entrepreneurship and cybersecurity opportunities. and how they could benefit all of us. So cybersecurity is one such space on which everyone has their eyes on, right? So right from investor to PM Modi, everyone wants to invest in cybersecurity. As a matter of fact, almost a year from now, last year April, when Digital India campaign was launched, PM Modi said one thing during its launch campaign. He said that during all my visits to various countries, one thing was very common. Each and every leader of the country was concerned about cybersecurity situation of their country. And PM Modi urged the youth of India during that campaign that if India can give the next big security product to the world, it will be the best gift to him by the youth. So after the Digital India campaign, after his speech, this led to formation of something called a Cybersecurity Task Force for India. So the formulation of a Cybersecurity Task Force for India was headed by Mr. Rajendra Pawar. And there were top 3 areas in which Cybersecurity Task Force for India had to work. First of them was training the youth in security to get more professionals inside the industry. Second one was to get industry linked, actually connecting the research with industry, because this is a major disconnect which we've seen in the Indian companies. And this is exactly the thing which made Silicon Valley what it is now, because they had a very strong connection with top Ivy League colleges, and research directly found applications in the industry. But this is something which has been a bit of an area of concern in India. So, and the third area was to concentrate on policy formation, because if you see in USA, the entire NSA controversy and everything, the privacy is a major concern there, but I don't see that happening in India. So that is going to be these are going to be the 3 top areas where Cybersecurity Task Force is going to function. And it was a 40 to 50 committee which was made responsible to form Cybersecurity Task Force, and we happen to be part of that committee. So cybersecurity industry size is going to be around 30 billion in coming years. And the biggest advantage of this industry and to venture in this industry is that the demand for cybersecurity is so high that you practically do not have to worry about competition. You enter in any other space during this time, you'll have to worry about competition, that you'll have to fight for competitors. You'll be it your, if you see Ola and Uber fighting for competition, Zomato's fighting with Foodpanda for customers. But cybersecurity is one industry where we've got the luxury to coexist with a number of players. So, and so I suggest that you guys also should come up with startup ideas. But even I have a few ideas which I like to throw around. But before I tell you the ideas, I'd rather like to tell you our story, that how we came up with Czar Securities and our product Astra. And I like to, while I'm saying a couple of incidents from our journey itself, I like to tell you that what were our learnings from those incidents. So the first story was we started this company when we were still in college. So in early days, we followed a more of a service-based model. So we used to hack websites, of course, ethically, and after that, make a report out of it and give it to our customers. So very service-based model, surely not scalable. But a few college grads trying to sell you security isn't something which is sellable, right? We imagine you calling an e-commerce on Flipkart and telling them that I want to help in security and I'm an undergrad student. They'll just laugh you off and they'll say, okay, Mr. Intelligent, not now, come back to us in 10 years. So establishing credibility was a big, massive problem for us in starting years. And with a field as massive as security, it surely the challenge doubled. So what we did was something totally crazy. We started hacking into giants. We right from Yahoo, Adobe, Microsoft, IMDb, Buffer app, you name it. We started finding security issues in these portals, and reporting them, of course, ethically. So this helped us in two ways. First, these guys actually acknowledged us, saying that, okay, we guys acknowledge that you guys have hacked into a website and ethically reported us. So we put your name in our responsible disclosure page that is on our website. And since they are giants and they got a lot of money, they gave us a few $1,000s too. So this helped us in two ways. One, we got money to bootstrap our business, and giants associated with our company's name, which helped us in establishing credibility, right? So, and from this incident, what outcome, which one thing which we learned was that it's important not to accept defeat. There's always a way out, and we've kept this incident in our heart always. And whenever there's a problem, we make sure that we recall this incident and the learning from that. That was there's always a way out if only we focus on thinking towards solutions and not problems. Second incident was a major incident in the history of our company, because that led to formation of a product Astra. So once we were talking with one of our customers who had taken our services, and once after I secured his website, he told me, Shakil, I'm glad that you've secured my website, but this is secured till today's date, right? What if 3 months from now a new vulnerability comes up and a hacker exploits the website using that vulnerability? What would we do? I said, yeah, use a fire, right? It will be protecting your website in real time. He said, okay, Mr. Intelligent, but I've already bought fire and it's been 3 days. He was an American. He said, it's been 3 goddamn days and I'm trying to get that firewall on my website. And this thing just doesn't work without breaking my website. This got me thinking. I was like, okay, there are a lot of firewalls on there, you could try something else. He said, I've tried a couple of them. They just don't work. It always breaks my website. That's how idea for Astra or Astra came in. That I thought that one thing which was lacking in security was that it wasn't easy to use. It was the black apple of the IT field, right? No one wanted to touch it because no one wants to get their hands dirty in that. So from that, we started building a firewall called Astra, which was very easy to use and at the same time provided rock solid. So we've recently launched Astra for the world, and we've launched it after we have had 300 plus signups from all around the world. And from here, the biggest learning for us was that always be on a lookout for ideas and solutions. If you've just have your eyes and ears open, you'll always end up making something good. So these days we are working on predicting future. In simple words, we aim to predict web attacks even before happen, and we're using machine learning techniques for that. And we should get out a beta product in a few months. So, from this was our journey and how we started up. And we would love to answer your questions on be it startup or cryptography. Please feel free to shoot your questions.
Hi, Shakil, can you hear me?
Yes. Is this someone?
Okay. So it's been a long time. So the students here, they must have read about startups going big. And they actually saw how Shakil and Anand went from the college days to a big company right now. So I would like the students to start with the questions. Since there are a lot of participants as of now, I would request the students to use the chat box for the questions. And of course, we have to respect Shakil and Anand's time, so we would not take much of the questions.
That will be fine, no problem.
Thank you.
So I read this quote once about asking questions, because I was used to introvert during my college days. So the quote read like, the one who doesn't ask
It's a fool forever.
stays a fool forever, and one who asks becomes a fool for some time only. So if you are hesitating, however silly the question might be, I'll not be judging you. Shoot, please.
you could ask about either entrepreneurship, cryptography, whatever. Yeah.
So I think that quote which Mr. Shikhil just said, that works with the student, and the student doesn't get into that bracket.
If you still want to shoot an email, I mean, we are available. So you could shoot an email, ask now.
Someone asked a question finally. Okay. Oh, good question. So you're asking about how, give an example in IoT. So, what are IoT devices? So let's take the example of health device, maybe a blood sugar monitoring or your heart monitoring device, which is there with the patient and connected to his heart. So this device keeps reporting all this information back to the server at periodic intervals. So depends on looking at this information, a doctor will take some decision and might prescribe some drug. So cryptography is used in the transmission of this information from the medical device to the actual cloud server. And then so that's one place where cryptography is used. So that, and so with the same end of maintaining the security, so this is always stored somewhere on a server. So so this is another place where you have cryptography used. And so now this is one example. So let's say in a hospital, and there are multiple medical devices there, and which need to communicate with each other. Now, cryptography while communicating between the devices.
One other example, a more specific one, is that like 2 to 3 years back, you heard of pacemakers, right? Pacemakers are used to pump the blood for people whose heart isn't functioning right. So the pacemaker used to send some data to the cloud servers of the hospital from the person who was in whose body it was inserted into. So the pacemaker was hacked, and the records of the patients were released. So this is one such attack where IoT security becomes very important. And in future, we've seen devices as simple as fridges getting IoT enabled by IoT, right? So if you use grofers, you could your fridge will take intelligent decisions depending on the quantity of food left in your fridge. It'll order stuff from grofers itself. So that makes fridge a potential device which could be hacked by a hacker. So he could either hack the communication between grofers and your fridge, or maybe the cloud server where the fridge's data is going. So yeah, IoT in security, I mean, it's the security as a whole is moving towards that. So because everything is coming onto IoT, and and the bad part is that just like when internet came in during its stage of inception, so if let's say that how to use internet or make internet for dummies was a 100-page book, maybe security was the 99th page. That's the reason why security is becoming important now, because during early days of internet, no one was concentrating on security. And the same thing is happening with IoT too. The level of consciousness is a bit higher, but still people, while making the IoT devices, concentrating on security much.
So yeah, I could just give you another real life example. So when I was working at TCS Research, so we were working on this project of automating factories and making them smart factories and leveraging IoT over there. So I was working on the security aspect of it. So in systems like these, the thing is, that you have a lot of tiny modes and sensors, things like Raspberry Pis and all that stuff, which are there in the factory, and they communicate with each other. And so it's not only about encrypting the information and making sure that it's secret, but it's also about the integrity of the data. So one sensor says that, okay, so and so a PCB or something has crossed me, or this is the weight of the information, or some vital stats, and it is passed on to the next sensor. So based on the information which is received from the previous IoT sensor, decisions are taken. So that's how you use why you need cryptography. So there's another question.
There's this company called Atify. There's this friend of mine called Aditya Gupta. He's given talks in places like Black Hat, DEF CON, and his company's he's known for Android security. He's developed a couple of Android security frameworks, but the last time I talked to him, he said that his company is also venturing in IoT security too.
So there's another question I think which you might want to ask. What made you start your own company?
Okay, what made us start our own company? See, the diplomatic one would be that I always had passion to start something of my own and all. But the frank answer is that I did not like working for anyone else. So since very starting, let's say when I was in 9th or 10th, I was very interested in business. I used to be on Google learning about angel investment and how actually businesses work. And then during the same time, security happened, and companies, the movies like Die Hard and all made me curious about security. Started learning on internet, but not started with learning security. Everyone starts learning by learning hacking, not security. Security comes later. So that's where it started. When in college, we always tend to make those life plans, right? When I had started my college, the life plan was to start when I'm in 4th year, or maybe after getting 1 year of experience. But I'm an impatient person, so I said that the famous Rich and Branson quote, right? Screw it, let's do it. So during college itself, I said that let's give it a try, and somehow it clicked. So that's how Czar happened.
So Shikhil, there is one question from Amal Jyoti College. Can you explain a little more on the Boomerang Attack?
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
So I'll answer that. So Boomerang Attack is one of those differential crypt analysis attacks where so based on knowing a part of the hash, and based on two unrelated parameters which are present on the, so you could actually try and crack it. So in the mid, so while you're doing the encryption, you could come up with a model which would tell you based on the characteristics, give you one model which would kind of help you in cracking it. So it's basically used on your block ciphers and not on the stream ciphers. So your block ciphers will have so because it's of a known length and it doesn't block, so it's actually really possible to crack it. So it usually allows plain text attack. So you need to be able to attain the crypt text, which is the actually encrypted text, and so you also need a set of plain text. So now that you have a mapping of, okay, this is how an unencrypted string is encrypted, and so now you can figure out characteristics between the unencrypted plain text and the crypt text, and so there's a mathematical logic behind that. So using that is actually possible to get it out.
Some of the very detailed answer, I could connect the students from the college who were asking about the differential attack from with Dipankar, because he's the one who looks after research and development at Czar. So he's researched in this attack. So
okay, so I think so if there is any more questions related to cryptography, you can directly mail it to us, and we will be sharing it with Mr. Shikhil and Ananda, if that is fine with you, Shikhil.
No, that sounds good. You could just shoot us an email, or if people want. So here's my email ID on the screen. So if you want to send an email, feel free to shoot an email. Not an issue.
Okay, so students, you can directly mail Mr. Shakil or Anand for the questions. And so I think all in all, it was an amazing session when it comes to the knowledge and experience, and also your startup journey. Personally, I was very impressed with your startup journey right from your college days. And I hope that inspires a lot of students. So when it comes to cryptography, you could always say the more the merrier when it comes to entrepreneurs joining in your domain.
Yes. So
And, yeah, please go ahead, Anand.
I was just saying that, like you said, the more the merrier, right? That's actually true. So the more the people there are, the more perspectives there are. So there'll be something or the other that someone missed. So I actually read one of the stories on Quora saying that, so there's this guy in MIT who was late to class, okay? So he entered really late to class, and he saw that on the board there was some 4 questions written over there. And so he was a little ashamed, so he wasn't talking to anyone. So he just noted down those questions, went back and solved all of those. And after a couple of days in the next class, the professor asked that, has anyone managed to solve any of these questions, So at that time, he was the only one who raised his hand, and the professor really thought that this guy was joking. So then what they realized after discussing, after this guy came up on board and gave the solutions, was that these were unsolved problems in the area. So this guy gave a fresh perspective without knowing that these are unsolved problems, and just explored them with an open mind, and we actually solved problems which were previously not solved for at least 50 years before
Was
that.
this guy Stephen Hawking by any chance?
No, he wasn't Stephen Hawking by any chance.
Yeah, so a nice session, Samad. Thanks a lot for connecting us. And
Thank you very much for joining in. So students, can we have a round of applause for Thank you very much. Students, there will be certificates also by Mr. Anand and Shakil's company, that is Czar Technologies. Students who haven't registered yet, they may register for reading and knowing more about cryptography through our newsletter, which will tell you more about the jobs and the internships available. And also later during later half of the day, that is at 3 p.m., we have a session on cloud computing. I thank all the students here and the faculty for your cooperation. This session was brought to you by Tabs Academy, Mumbai.
Company who hosted the webinar. If you are not able to register, make sure you register for the machine where the link is open. So registration is allowed. Just inform the other batches, the one which is gone for AI and for software engineering. Yeah, there was 3 batches. Which is that batch there? Me too.
Thank you for your participation. Have a nice day.